Welcome back to the Berg Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. With me today is Ford.
Hey, how's it going?
And Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're talking about the all too soon seasonal reminders showing up in retail stores, right?
I mean, I know the other week it got a little cool around here, right? I mean, for a couple days, it cooled down a little bit. But come on, we don't need Christmas stuff before Thanksgiving. We don't need pumpkin stuff in August. Like, there's reasons for the season. And I know it's a marketing thing and it's a money thing, but it's just, the one thing, like we talked about, I think even before the podcast, the turkey gobbler from Wawa. Right?
I was just going to say this.
So, sandwich
So Ford it's. I love this rant because it does happen pretty much every time, every
season, every season change.
But you've got some seasonal things that you look forward to.
Yes. And I'll only look forward to them if they're there for a limited season.
Okay.
If that sandwich was there year round, I would not buy it.
The Wawa Gobbler, if it's 12 months a year on the menu, it's not special.
It's too unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like all that kind of stuff. It's too much for me. But when it's there for a short window, it makes it more interesting. And I don't know, it was like 2 weeks ago and I walked into the store and they already had pumpkin coffee. And I'm just like, we're not even September. Like, school hasn't even started yet, and we're already rocking like the fall stuff. It's kind of, my birthday's in the end of like August, and so it's always like that was school starting. And now I talked to someone the other week, they're like, "Oh, school started in the middle of like August," and like everything is just blending together. There's no like
the timing of it. So I have a summer birthday, but mine's pretty much dead in the middle of the summer. But this is how much I enjoyed school as a kid. I was frustrated with my own birthday because I meant the summer was halfway over. Like I was back to like, I might as well be in school. They're going to want to like buy my school shoes. Want to talk about what books I need or notebooks. I don't want to participate in any of this.
Right.
I don't even want to, go to school.
Your birthday was the trigger for summer
coming
to an end.
Thinking summer could be partway over. And
it was only halfway through, but it's all about perspective.
Halfway through, but it was all downhill from there.
It was half full or half empty.
Yeah, it was the pinnacle. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It was like, great, it's my birthday.
Never going to have more summer than you did yesterday.
No, it's going to get less and less.
Okay, gotcha.
And I mean, we all have those things. I have it with the solstice, like you know what I mean, for the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. Like I always want to be on the beach, and it's like a marker to me. But it's funny because I don't look at it like the days now get shorter. For me, that's the trigger of summer. Like Memorial Day's cool when we, you go to the beach, and we're fortunate we get the house ready and open, and we can see people we haven't seen for a few months. But I don't feel like I know that summer's not really going to start. School's not over yet. But once school's over, they head to the beach. But then when you hit that, like, July or June 21st, like now it's summertime. Like now we got 4 to 6 good weeks of,
of soccer practice.
Soccer practice. It has been altered. Yeah. The funny part, we literally just had this discussion last night and this morning. But this ties to seasonality. Like growing up, we played sports and there was seasons. There was fall season, there was winter season, there was spring season, and that was usually 3 different sports.
And summers were off.
Unless you played baseball with the travel teams for like the little league stuff. And
I think they were all done my age by July 4th though. Like that was like the end. Like you just you at least had the month, the 2-month window.
So the reason I know that isn't 100% true is because my brother made it pretty far. And the reason he stopped playing all of those tournament baseball games in Little League was because you would play until the end of July. Yeah. If you really made it to like the national tournaments, you'd play in the end of July. And he was like, by then he's a September birthday. So he is lucky enough that his birthday regularly falls on the first day of school, which is nothing worse than that could happen to you, I don't think. It's like parents out there, just be mindful of that.
Well, if you go back 9 months, you can kind of figure that out. 10 months, you figure that out.
Figure out how it happens and when, but not the nicest thing to do to your kid is, you're going to have a birthday back at school. Some kids love it, I guess. I don't know. I would not.
They get their friends around them, I guess.
They got their friends around them.
Yeah. It probably creates like weird, like cutoff dates too. If your birthday is like right at the beginning of the school year, like do you go early? Do you go late? So they moved it
to October, which is weird. They gave people a little bit more, or like middle of September or something. There's a little bit more leeway, but it does create this whole thing. But parents are holding kids anyway. But the other thing, another one with Wawa again is, I guess in this area, Wawa is the marker for seasonal. Is they had Hoagie Fest. The Kelseys got involved, but the girls and Aaron, for some reason, did not realize Hoagie Fest would end, which I don't know how they didn't know, because it isn't like Hoagie Fest all the time.
Yeah, it's not like
it wouldn't be an event if it was
not like
fest.
a Subway $5 footlongs.
No,
it's Hoagie Fest. It's
Hoagie Fest. It's a limited time.
I don't think it's a real thing anymore, right? You can't get a $5 sub at Subway.
I mean, maybe you can get those little wrappers they have now. I don't think you can get the extra hoagie for $5. I mean, you can't get anything for $5.
I'm probably aging myself. That's probably been over for a long time. But
that was all the time.
Yeah, right.
Right. And this is a short time. And I said, well, no, it's got to be over. I was like, it runs like 4th of July to like about I said, their things are normally a month. Like that's how Wawa runs. They run stuff for a month. Which it's funny, what messes with Ford, I think, is that they're moving when the month is. They don't actually, I don't think they have the coffee longer. Like I think you may be out of pumpkin before it gets to
pumpkins actually turns orange.
Before it actually turns orange, and then you're going to be on a Christmas blend.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's what's going to happen here. But it's crazy and you can't buy anything. Like, have you noticed that happening? Like your kids are younger, but you don't really do Halloween.
Nope.
Okay, so this will be not obvious to Ford, but like it messes you up because like anything you want to buy is not in the season I want to buy it. You know what I mean? Like
you gotta be preparing like 6 months out for everything.
Like I remember Aaron, every year Aaron said, okay, well we got to go get Halloween candy. And then I'm like, well, all the Halloween candy is apparently gone.
Right.
I mean, it's a week before Halloween, but there's no candy.
It doesn't exist anymore.
We've already moved on. We go right by Thanksgiving. You just start setting up Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I
think part of it is too, like to be able to enjoy those moments, like that seasonality, like that's the thing, like, whatever that season is, like if you're trying to do it and you can actually saturate in it, but if you're trying to, buy Halloween candy in September, like it takes away from, you know what I mean? Like
it's too far from the event.
Yeah. And so you have all this stuff stocked up in your house for whatever events are coming up because you have to buy it so early or whatever it is, where if it's like, a good, fall day, in September, October, maybe you are taking the kids to pick pumpkins or something like that. There's a tie to it.
Are you catching?
In the middle of August,
are you catching the Delco over here with the pumpkins? You catching it? It's a pumpkin.
I got it.
Yeah, this is water. I'll get
water.
Yeah, but you just kind of have this whole thing, and then it has that connection to it, or you get the Christmas tree at a certain time, like all those types of things, because it creates part of that month, that season. Event.
It's the and I like. I enjoy that seasonality. I just do. Like I like that, after Thanksgiving we go buy a Christmas tree and we put the Christmas tree up and we're, cut a fresh one and hope it makes it to Christmas.
Right.
Versus I know some people who they buy a Christmas tree like a week before, which is fine, and then take it right down. But I feel like you miss the season. And then we get into like a whole different thing with the trees, right? That I like to have a real tree. I know Ford is not a huge fan of the process of buying a tree.
We're jumping out of season.
It's way too early. But Dan, you are part of the problem. But you're jumping straight to the tree buying conversation.
But there's some similarity that you like to create this seasonality and enjoy it. In a funny twist, I had a conversation last night with a dad, and we were talking about. He was asking me about the girls and soccer, and people know that I'm pretty engaged in soccer. The girls play a lot, and we have one of the cameras that you put up on the tripod thing. Like we've become that family. Mm-hmm. But I said, the reason I do it is not actually the thing everybody thinks. I don't really watch much of those videos. I don't critique them. I don't say, girls, look at this video. I don't send them clips. I don't do any of that. I actually do it so that Erin and I don't tape any games. Like I didn't want to be like the dad with the camera. Erin started to do it with her phone because she wanted to have the ability to share this. So I actually did it so that we can be present in the moment of watching them play. And if you want to have a picture of something, then go ahead and pull it up, freeze frame it. There's your picture. Sure. And if you want to take a picture of the girls, after a tournament, I'll take a picture of the girls. But I want to be present, and so I think that speaks to a similar thing. That you want to be involved in the moment. It's hard to be in the fall spirit when it's 95 degrees out and it's August. That's not fall.
Well, I mean, think about it, we're jumping on that. Two things. One, you said about the sports, we started doing that. They're year round now. So there is no time off. We talked about that before. But second is it's funny. We'll be doing something and it doesn't even cross my mind to pull my phone out of my pocket to take anything. That just isn't ingrained in me. Some people, it's just that's the first thing something happens. It's hey, quick.
You know where it gets
and I'll be done. And they're like, did you take it? I'm like, no, I didn't even think to take my phone out of my pocket. That wasn't what the, because something happened to Tamara's car the other day, and like they're like, "Well, do you have a video of it?" And she's like, "No." And they're like, "Well, then basically it didn't happen." It was like, what? Like that's just a weird thing because it's just not like that's not the first thought is to like pull the phone out of the pocket.
You know where it really gets me is when you see people at a live event that you paid to go to, watching it through their phone.
Oh,
right.
Yeah,
like whether it be a concert or a sporting event, there's so many things now that you see it, and you see the people who paid. They paid to sit right here as I'm watching, Brian singing in a concert. I'm watching Brian playing an instrument singing, but I'm watching it through my phone, like so that I can see it later. Like I don't like it. It's so bizarre to me. And actually, you know what happened? Actually, again, like this happens over and over again with these phones. Is I was driving through Westchester, coming back from practice last night with Mara, and school's open, right? So all the kids are there. They're wandering around. The number of kids who were together while separate was unbelievable. Like they were all walking places on their phones, but together.
Right.
Do you think we could fix that if we all start wearing shoulder pads and just like when they walk into you because they're not paying attention, you just kind of lower the shoulder a little
bump?
I mean, if you're out on the street or you're anywhere, the amount of like people, excuse me, because they aren't even aware of where they're walking, let alone like traffic or anything. It's true. I mean,
we're
like
way off of seasonal here.
Well,
I
it's the
think
same
I
thing.
get it, but it is true because you guys both have earbuds, right, or some variation thereof, right, and AirPods, whatever. I don't.
Okay.
Because it really bothers me. Like frankly, because I don't know. Like are you a crazy person? Like that's
you're talking to yourself.
That's definitely insensitive. I'm going to get flagged for that one. But like, are you a person on this? Like when you walk through the city, there are people who have struggle with mental health issues.
Yeah.
And they could be talking to themselves, carrying on a whole conversation by themselves. Now I'm not sure anymore. Like everyone is talking, and I don't know. Are you talking to me? Like, oh no, you're not talking to me. And I'm like, it's the same thing with engagement. Like I feel like people are always trying to do multiple things instead of just doing the thing you're doing. And I think there is a tie to the seasonality of what they're doing. It's the same thing. Like they always want to rush to the next thing so that you have like fear of missing out. Like, well, I have to get the pumpkin latte because it's going to be out. And then when's it going to be out? I don't even know because I mean, it's out in August. Who knows when they'll stop it?
Right.
I got to go get Halloween candy because otherwise the costumes and the candy are going to be gone. You better go get a turkey because who knows if we'll have those when I could get a turkey any day.
Right.
But I was supposed to get one around Thanksgiving, And I feel the same way about Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really want to shop for Christmas presents in September. Like,
do you think it's? This might get a little deeper than we thought the conversation would go. But do you think it's us driving it, or is it like a marketing manufacturer thing that's driving our desire for it? Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I definitely think it is. I mean, like they show like how much is being driven by, like, they're doing it so subtly that you aren't aware. But if you peel the layers back, it's amazing what is being. I mean, we talk about it when we're getting on a phone rant, but like you have a conversation and then all of a sudden you go on to something and like the ads for it are tied to.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, like I think we're accepting it, like we're
embracing it.
So like it's not their fault because we could say no to it, but it's definitely being highly manufactured.
I think it's being fed to us, and the reason I tend to think about things operationally, right, like from a process standpoint. And the reason I think it is because if I have to get a bunch of Halloween candy and I put it in a store and I want to sell it, and then there's a window I'm going to sell it. Once I hit the window of November 1st, no one's buying that Halloween candy at full price anymore.
Sure.
So whatever I don't sell at that point, I'm now stuck with, and it goes to a wholesaler. Then I get pennies on the dollar. It cuts into my profit. But if I had the same amount of candy I was always going to buy, but I sell it a month ahead of time, when I get to the month I'm actually selling it, even if I have to mildly discount it, it's still better than having to wholesale it. And if I don't discount it and the people come in, they're like, well, I'm going to have to buy this, some
money
candy.
To raise the price.
Right. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to have to buy some candy that I wouldn't even normally buy because there's no other choices. There's no candy to buy. They're creating need by accelerating when you purchase and then also giving you time to rethink it. Like I know that happens a lot at my house where Aaron will say like, do we have enough candy for Halloween? What if 1 million kids come? And I was like, well, I guess, but I mean, at some point I'm just out of candy. That's the way it goes. I'm not trying to be the guy that like just turns his lights off and pretend I'm not home.
Yeah.
That's me.
Thank you, Ford. But Ford does, in Ford's defense, he doesn't celebrate Halloween with the kids either. So
sure,
he doesn't want to participate. But you know what I'm saying? In other words, you create a marketing environment that is favorable. And I think you see that with almost everything they do. And then the invention of FOMO is really been impactful to this. Like, cause that wasn't a thing 10 years ago. I'm not saying people weren't jealous 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm saying it wasn't an actual condition that everyone knew about. By creating the condition, you make it more, that's the key to pharmaceutical marketing, right? Is you say like, we have this, was it a problem always? Probably. Well, and how serious of a problem? And then you create a solution, and the solution actually creates a bigger need for the problem, the problem.
Right. And like, I think a lot of that started with social media in some ways, because people like it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like social media, you want to post something so that people know you did something, right? And then that's not good enough anymore. So you want to be the first one to post it, right? And so now you're experiencing it right through your phone. You're not necessarily paying any attention to what you're actually doing. And now people are like in this mindset where I'm not there. I can't be the first one to share it. I can't be the one to post it. I can't be the one to talk about it. And it's created like its own like monster where
well, there's people commenting on YouTube videos first.
Right.
Like that's literally their goal, is to say that they were the
first one to see it. Even if they didn't produce the content, they didn't experience it. They weren't there.
It's so far. It really is genuinely foreign to me. Like, Ford and I, you weren't able to go to the peer group, right? Because Aiden was going to school.
Yeah.
But Ford and I were at this peer group, which we really enjoy. It's a bunch of really quality companies who are like-minded. I don't have one single picture from down there. Because, why would I take a picture? You know what I mean? Like, why would I, I wrote some notes down. You know what I mean? Like, I wrote notes down. It wasn't that I wasn't engaged, but like, I just...
You actually notice how few phone calls were happening during that time?
Yeah.
Like in general, there was just a couple people had to take off for a couple minutes here or there, but it was funny because it was so controlled. It was like, okay, at break time, everybody went out and everybody jumped on their phone for like 10, 15 minutes calls. And then they came back. And it was so interesting because like you said, the one time we got done our meeting and then we were sitting somewhere having like a drink and like some food afterwards. And there was just 5 people sitting there and I didn't even see a phone on the table.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't the point of this situation.
Yeah. Sure. I hope that there a swing, like the pendulum swings a little bit and we get to that point. Cause I feel like I'm about sick of my phone. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it is the most amazing tool that we have at our disposal. More amazing than any of our computers or anything else is that phone. It can do virtually everything that your computer can do. It connects you in any way you'd like. You can talk, you can video chat, you can have a meeting, you can send an email. Like it can do anything. It's amazing. But it also it owns a piece of your soul. You know what I mean? When you do that you just can't get away from it. The same way that it enables you to connect to everything, it connects everything to you at all times. You have you just have no time, no space, no privacy.
Yeah.
And so, we've been all over the place, but I really do think there's like a linear line through this, that there was we've talked about it, that before there was even, phones, and first they had pagers. Like my uncle was the first person I knew that had a pager. He was an emergency room doctor. If his pager went off, someone was dying and somehow his specific skill set while he wasn't on duty was needed, that he would have to call and say like, here's what I would do. Right. And we've gone from that to, 8 and 10-year-olds have phones and they're making TikTok videos. It's gotten so, and I'm dealing with that right now. You're not there yet. You're obviously well into this, that the girls will say like, well, what do you think about us getting TikTok? And I was like, no, you're not getting it because you don't need it. Like if you could explain a need to me, I'm probably still going to say no, quite honestly, but because of the risk and the exposure and all the other things, I can't control it. But what you needed was, what my 12-year-old needed was a phone so that she could call me and say, I'm done practice. Can you come pick me up?
Right.
That's what she needed. You know what I mean? But what we gave her was a device that connects the entire world to her and her to the entire world. And then we try and limit what it can do, to try and limit the risk.
Yeah.
But you take that and it's what the world's become. I mean, you know, you're going to have pumpkin in October. You're going to have
pumpkin in August.
In August, Thanksgiving will be over by the middle of September.
Yeah.
Your Christmas shopping better be done by November, or else you're not getting whatever it is you thought you wanted. You
pumpkins aren't even ripe yet. I mean, where are they?
Yeah, we have pumpkins growing out back because the girls like planted some.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's not even a pumpkin yet.
No, right. I got a friend. Some of this conversation like makes interesting group conversation depending on who you're with, right? And I've got a friend who he ran a company, and it was always interesting to me. A really great guy, really good conversation. I love his thought process on a lot of stuff. But he ran an apparel company called Fake Life. And it was on the premise that the majority of people are drowning in their own consumerism. And I always thought it was a little ironic that he was selling something to those people, to consumers, to tell them that they're over consuming. And he doesn't do it anymore. And I think that's actually was part of it. Because he was trying to do good work, and that wasn't a venue to be able to do it. And he's doing other things now. But I always thought it was like an interesting conversation because, like, you know, that whole idea, where is this being driven from? Is it our desire to be the first, to be in front of things, to, you know, someone like wants to be the first one on TikTok with a Starbucks cup saying they got pumpkin spice latte on August 14th, you know, and it was
when it started?
I actually have no idea. Okay. And I wondered if it's mutual in some ways. Yeah, I do definitely think we're being fed the information, right? But I think that if you are not a controlled consumer, you're also like feeding the machine.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Like if you have not said like the phone's a great one. I think that the phone reference is amazing because it literally has changed our lives entirely in the past 10 years, 20 years. I mean, it hasn't been that long since if you wanted to make a phone call, you had to pick up a phone in your house that was connected to a line that went to a telephone pole, you know, like the infrastructure system that's changed so dramatically to give us the entire world in the palm of our hand in the last 15 years is incredible. It really is. But like as a consumer, and like I've had to recognize like my own behaviors and my desired behaviors and like set up controls and say like, I don't like need to just sit on my phone for hours after, 8 p.m. Like I'm not waiting for work phone calls. I'm with my family. Like that thing could be powered off. That thing could be, sit in a drawer for the rest of the night. It doesn't matter. And I think a part of that is like, if you desire constant access, you're going to be given constant access. So
is that also tied to like people's need for importance, right?
Sure.
Like they need to be connected, right? I mean, I'm just trying to like, as you're saying this, like think through this, like, you said like, okay, I have a window that's not part of that window, whatever it is. I mean, I think it's, we talk about vacation, like our team's taking vacation and stuff, and we try really hard to respect like, their boundaries and stuff like that. Because like, okay, if you're on vacation and you're still like, years ago I went somewhere and we had a snowstorm back home and like I was on the phone a bunch, and at one point Tamara's just like, I just wish you didn't come because you're not really here. You're, dealing with things. It's like, oh, it's cool. I can deal with things from somewhere else, but like I wasn't there either. So what's the point?
You couldn't be in both places at once, and trying to stay connected to both places left you somewhere in the middle that wasn't doing either one.
It was like middle ground. It wasn't anything of either side. And it's like, okay. So I have, a funny story. So part of a hunting cabin, and when I first went up there, they didn't have cell phone service. And literally that was like almost part of the reason for joining, because I left the one town, you turn off your phone and you're like an hour out of there. And we'd have great conversations. Like the whole group of us be up there, and like you'd even have arguments that like or just completely irrelevant, like fun arguments, not like angry arguments, but just like fun about, disagreeing
Debates.
about. Yeah, we'll call it debates. That's a better word for it, right? And the last 2 times I was up there, you walk around the room and 5 guys are sitting in seats and they're all staring at their device from back home.
They're still home.
Yeah. And it was
they
like,
drove all that way and they're still home.
Yeah. And I mean, it took away some of that, like
it's
that group of us were there.
It's why I love that going that far north in Maine. There's still no cell service and there's no power. Like I'd rather be really off the grid and that's not my style, but
sure.
If you're going to do it, let's go ahead and do that. And what's funny is the shore, and Ford knows this, like we don't have internet. And this year we didn't even put up the antenna. We didn't have TV. The girls did not watch. Like I would call Erin and something like relatively of consequence could have happened. And I'd be like, hey, did you hear about this? She'd be like, no, what happened? She had no idea. And her world was fine. She didn't need it. And the funny part to me is to watch like Jane Lehman, right? So Jane's 60 something years old, right? And she was very athletic, played sports in college. She was an AD, not the person you'd think would like be just messing around on your phone. And she came over to watch the girls for us one night. So we came to dinner and she was like, you don't have internet. We were like, no. She was like, and to combat that, Ocean City, my house is low to the ground. It's one of the original cottages. The new houses have blocked the signal. So like physically you have to walk away from my house to really have any service. So I've almost have like a black hole at my house.
He's found a new way to make a black hole.
A new way of getting away. I can get away without going away.
Not a Faraday cage.
But it's one of those things, but like she was bothered by it because I don't know what she needed to see, but she was not able to see it. Like she was left out, and that's where of all the things they've marketed, creating this fear of missing out is it's probably the most damaging of the things they've created because everybody wants to create this false narrative of that life is great and everything's always shiny and pretty and rainbows and unicorns, and it's not. And the irony is what we actually get value from is making it through the tough times, right? It's like the hard time you had, is what you remember and what creates value. And that's where I sort of tying this together, that what makes the gobbler a great sandwich is that I can only get it for 4 weeks a year. If I could get it for every day of the week, I really don't want it. I mean, like I love cheesesteaks. I love burgers. I'll eat them constantly. It's not that I can't have it. I just really like them. But most of the things I get, I like because I can't have them. I love snow because I can ski and I can't ski for like 9 months a year. I love the beach because I can't really go to the beach for 6 months a year. If I could do it all the time, it would lose its punch because it's not special, and you make that, I mean, what makes our lives where we are in varying stages special with the kids is that it's fleeting. Like your kids are almost grown up. You're going to be an empty nester soon. And like, you're going to remember this time and it'll create even more value of that time. And then Ford and I having kids younger, look at that and say like, okay, like we're going to be Brian. Like it's, in 10 years, my kids are all going to be wherever they're going to be. They're going to be adults and they're not going to be with me. That creates value. But when we make everything available all of the time and at the wrong times, it devalues the thing that you wanted. And it's just, and I think you see that with everything. And it's creating like it's furthering our mental health problems because it's just unhealthy. Yeah. And it's a false sense. Like if you really think that, that
everybody's on vacation all summer long.
Vacation and it's just statistically not true.
Sure.
Logistically, none of this is true.
Yeah.
It's people are putting the best foot forward. And I'll close my point on it with soccer is that I realized Penn Fusion and FC Delco, my girls play at both. Very successful, competitive programs known around the country and around the world. They travel. And so they post, because they want people to know how successful they are. But I look at the posts, and sometimes it's actually funny to me because you're all posting how well you did, but you played against each other. You all couldn't have done so well. But what it is there's so many variations that they're just saying what they want. And I get that. That's marketing, right? Sure. But it creates this false narrative that whereas if the tournament posted and said, here's our 10 champions, like, okay, that's the 10 teams that won. But somehow there's 70 posts of everybody winning, but there was only 10 champions. So how did everybody win?
Yeah.
And like you see little things like, this team went 2-0 on Saturday. It was like, well, you don't want to lose on Saturday because you won't be playing on Sunday, but you didn't say you won. You just said we went 2-0 on Saturday with a picture. And I'm like, happy for the kid. Like, good. My girls this past weekend had a tournament. Mara won. The other two didn't. Right. And they were bent out of shape that they lost. And I said to him, listen, you're going to get more from what just happened than Mara is. Like Mara won and I'm happy for her. She won. It's great. They had a good weekend. You didn't. You play next weekend or the weekend after. You win that weekend, you're going to feel it because you lost the weekend before. If you had won this weekend, you win next weekend, you just start to expect winning. And then it devalues the winning. Like that's what makes winning value. You know what I mean? Like, even when you have a streak and you have a team, you know, like it's women's basketball in the Olympics hasn't lost in like something ridiculous, 25 years. They're like 59-0 in the Olympics or something absurd. They've won like 5 Olympics in a row.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
It's crazy. But there is the threat that they're going to lose. Like they know they're going to lose. And that's what creates value in their winning is that everyone else isn't winning and they are, you know what I mean? So
sure, yeah.
You need the dichotomy. If all you have is warm weather, it'll lose its punch.
Yeah. Interesting. So probably on that note, I think I'm going to go get a pumpkin spice latte.
You better pick up your Halloween candy and your Christmas presents.
I might go cut down a Christmas tree early too.
I think I'm going to buy Aaron a Valentine's Day card just so I'm ready. Yes. I got to get lots of pictures and post it.
Then I forget it by the time it was needed anyway. That's a different story.
I was so prepared. I put it in a drawer and forgot I had to do it again.
Well, and
I put it in a super safe spot that I can't find again.
I said we were done, but I will say this, that in a completely different seasonal thing, Ford and I have had this conversation. And I actually had it with Aaron, and I was like, I am not going to post how much I love you on Facebook for Valentine's Day, and I'm not going to put like you're the greatest mom ever on Mother's Day. And I was like, if you're okay with it, like if you're comfortable enough as a human being, knowing where we are in our relationship and what I think of you as a mother, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's just.
How many first day of schools have you guys seen in the last week?
Well, a lot. We haven't started school yet, but I feel like there will be pictures of my girls for first day of school, and they'll be staged. I don't know. There's nothing I can do about it. I mean,
have they already been taken and they'll be posted on the first day of school?
Erin is very present with not wanting to do. She wants it to be real,
authentic.
Yeah, authentic.
Got it. Yeah,
and that, and And that comes through in my kids.
Like,
they see that.
I took Addie to school on the first day, and just timing wise, it worked out. And as she like jumped out of the car, I was like, "Oh shoot, should I have taken a picture? Was I
didn't happen if you didn't take a photo.
Are you sure she went if you didn't take a picture?"
I was like, "Can I prove she went to school today?"
The tardiness record.
Yeah. So
your wife's also there, so
that's fair. Yeah, she would know pretty quickly.
See, like I mean, we won't add, but I'd rather do some kind of like embarrassing thing, like really. You know what I mean? Like you ever see those videos like where someone rolls up and they like turn their music up as a kid. I'm going to make it memorable, but not in the photo form.
Yeah.
And truthfully, like with the tournament, I did take a picture of my 3 girls, one with a medal.
Sure.
But I took it, no one has the picture. You know what I mean? Like, well, I sent it to my mom because she said, send me a picture. And I said, here's the picture. Do not post this anywhere. Not because I don't need anybody to know. I mean, now we talked about it, but it's not about that. They did it for themselves. So go have fun with your friends. Be a kid.
Yeah. That's a good place to wrap up. The seasons change too quickly, and we're constantly reminded of it. But maybe be your own advocate and don't always feel like you're forced to participate. So, hope you got something from that, folks, and I hope you come back for another episode.